What's up, everybody? It's the Alex Leak and Friends NFL podcast back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got Dustin on the show as always. Good to have you, Dustin.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's been a minute, but I'm back.
Absolutely. And so last time we did an NFL episode, it was me, you, and Pablo, and we were previewing the Super Bowl. Now the Super Bowl is come and gone. It was a great game and a great season. How about this season, man? We covered the entire season from training camp, preseason, every week of the season, all the playoffs, and now it's over. What did you think of the 2022 NFL season? I mean, a lot of fun, huh?
Yeah, man. There was a lot of surprises, because a lot of my preseason picks were off this year. Unfortunately, I didn't do too well. Um, but yeah, just a lot of fun to watch and some good games and some teams that stood out and some that didn't.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, your preseason pick, the Bills, went pretty far. They were half a game away from your prediction, your record, right? You said 14-3.
Yep.
Yeah, they go 13-3, something like that. Um, and so then they were close. And so we had the Super Bowl. It was a great game. The Eagles actually, me and Pablo picked the Eagles. You picked the Chiefs, right?
Yes.
Eagles actually led at halftime, 24-14. I was feeling good at halftime. The Eagles were doing what they needed to do. They were running the ball successfully, dominating time of possession. And then on top of that, Patrick Mahomes injures his ankle right before halftime and is limping on his way running into the tunnel for halftime. What did you think when you saw Mahomes get injured in the Super Bowl?
Yeah. I thought at first, the ankle looked pretty bad, bro, and you know, the injury from the camera view and everything, and I was like, if Chad Henne has to come in, this game could get ugly. But kudos to Mahomes, man. Toughed it out, bro. Toughed it out and played one hell
Yeah,
of.
you couldn't really tell he was hurt in the second half. Had a couple nice runs and was in credit to, just a great job by the Chiefs offense. The Eagles become just the second team to blow a double digit halftime lead in the Super Bowl.
Wow, yeah, that would probably the other team would be Atlanta, right?
Yep. And so not great there. But Mahomes takes home Super Bowl MVP with 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. He won the regular season MVP as well. So as of right now, Mahomes with 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 2 rings. We talked about how big of a game this was for Mahomes' legacy, for Mahomes' career. To play through that injury, I mean, everything went well for Mahomes. Right now, he's sitting pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah, man, he's one of the only few quarterbacks to win 2 MVPs, 2 championships, and two Super Bowl MVPs. So he's up
Yeah.
there with the likes of Peyton Manning and Eli and all them guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, great job. Credit to the Chiefs. Credit to Mahomes, Travis Kelsey. A lot of credit goes to head coach Andy Reid, who, in my opinion, coached circles around Eagles coach Nick Sirianni. Um, the Eagles were, in the first half, looked like they were pretty well dominating. And you have a longer halftime in the Super Bowl because of the concerts. And I think Andy Reid did an excellent job with halftime adjustments. Do you agree?
Yeah, uh, most definitely, man. You know, they were kind of flat in the first half. They go in there, they come out, and they're playing better football.
Yeah. Yep. And what did you think of the end? So a defensive holding call on Eagles corner James Bradbury. It would have been a 4th and 8 with plenty of time left on the clock, and they would have forced a Chiefs field goal with a minute 48 left in the game, if not for that holding penalty. Instead, it was, in my opinion, a bailout hold to give Mahomes and the Chiefs offense a 1st and goal or 1st and 10 right there at the 10-yard line. What did you think, bro? This is the second year in a row where we've had a holding penalty called in a critical spot of the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts? You picked the Chiefs to win, but what were your thoughts when that happened?
Yeah, I mean, I did pick the Chiefs to win, but I also like to see fair and clean football. So, you know,
Yeah,
what I
I
thought, I mean,
go
I
ahead.
thought to me it was a hold, but I didn't like the situation of the way that they called it. They let them play all game long. I mean, it was,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a hold, but it was a ticky tack hold. He only had him for a second, and I don't think it affected the route. I really don't. I mean, it wasn't a clean, you know, break out of there, and the ball was sailed well over his head. Now I know that's the difference between pass interference and holding, but I just don't like that call in that situation, and I don't want to see a Super Bowl come down to an officiating call. You know what I mean? I want to see it come down to the players on the field, and in that instance, I would have loved to see him uh not call that and give the Eagles, the Chiefs are going to go up 3 and give Jalen Hurts and the Eagles an opportunity with a minute 48 left to see if they can go tie the game or even win it, you know?
yeah, absolutely. You know, it was just a bad call and the wrong. I mean, it was a 50-50 call, but in the wrong situation. Maybe if you called that, if you've been calling that the whole night, then there wouldn't be so much controversy around it. But the way that you let them play, for most of for 4 quarters of the game, and then when it came down to it, you had to call that, a holding call. I didn't like it like that.
Yeah, in my opinion, you can call a defensive holding damn near every play if you wanted to, if you're looking for it. And so, in my opinion, it looked like the refs were looking for a bailout penalty. The same way, remember when that happened last year with the Rams and the Bengals? And that was a no hold at all when they called it there. What do you think this kind of message this sends the NFL officiating in the NFL? The optics look really bad. I mean, it looks like when it comes down at the end of a Super Bowl, we're gonna make a call that we want to call to make sure our guy wins the championship. And isn't that a terrible look?
I mean, yeah, I mean, after the game was over, there were so many people saying that the Super Bowl was rigged for 2 years in a row.
Yeah, and I mean, me and you don't believe that it's rigged, but calls like this allow people to say stuff like that, and I hate it, man. I hate that that call gets made there. Um, you know, you gotta have as an official, you gotta have some kind of situational awareness. And if one guy calls it as the head official, you should get the guys together and be like, let's pick this one up. You know what I mean? Like, I agree, you saw something there, but it was so tiny and it barely affected the play. Let's see what happens here. Let's allow the players to decide the outcome. Let's not take over the game. That's why, in my opinion, I don't think it's individual officials and individual crews doing this. I think this is an NFL thing. I think this comes from the top. And that's why it allows people to really be like, man, this shit might be rigged. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
So it's a terrible look. You hate to see, a game end that way and the Eagles not really get an opportunity. Credit to the Chiefs on their second half adjustments and playing great football and getting the win. Um, but yeah, I couldn't believe it when they called it. I was like, are you kidding me? You know, one year you can be like, it was a fluke. 2 years in a row, very bad optics. The biggest credit to the Super Bowl, I said Andy Reid, we said Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs' offensive line, bro. We talked about how impressive the Eagles' defensive line had been going into this game, and they recorded 70 sacks this season, and the Chiefs' offensive line allows 0 sacks in the Super Bowl. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, it was impressive, and especially slowing down Hassan Reddick. One
Yep.
of the league leaders this year in sacks. If not, I think he might have led the NFL.
I don't think he led the NFL, but I know, I mean, very high up there, and a hell of a year regardless. And the Eagles led the NFL in sacks, the team,
Yep.
and just a great job by the Chiefs. I mean, you had to have it too. You know, Mahomes goes limping in at halftime. You can't allow Mahomes to get hit a lot in the second half, and they did a great job and no sacks, and they were pretty proud of it with their wearing T-shirts that said "zero sacks allowed" at the celebration. You know, but credit to the Chiefs' offensive line, played a hell of a game and gave them a chance to win. If you remember that Chiefs Bucks Super Bowl, they the Bucks had pressure on Mahomes the entire game. He was just running for his life. Not the case this year.
Yeah, for sure, bro. You know, they filled their needs, and Mahomes won. Kudos to the Chiefs for making the moves they had to move and learning from that Super Bowl to get better.
Absolutely. And how about winning the Super Bowl after getting rid of Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, that's see, most people haven't talked about it this season, and I know there was a lot of Mahomes lost to the Bengals last year and all that kind of stuff. But man, give this dude credit, okay? I mean, I'm not a big Patrick Mahomes fan, but I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. This guy won a Super Bowl with a receiving core that wasn't the best in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, him and Kelsey have great chemistry, and so that's huge. You know, they almost like ad lib it out there and just get it done. Kelsey's so impossible to cover. But yeah, I mean, you take Kelsey out of the way, you got Juju Smith Schuster, Valdez Scantling, McCole Hardman, and it's like that's not, Justin Watson, I believe, is Sky Moore. That's not an incredible receiving core. There's a lot that might not be top 16 in the NFL. You know, that might not be in the top half. And so the fact that Kelsey got it done or Mahomes got it done, and how about seventh round pick rookie running back Isaiah Pacheco out of Rutgers? We've been talking about him all season long, and he had an incredible playoff run as well, didn't he?
Yes,
And
yes,
him
absolutely.
rocking that number 10, it almost seems like, and with his speed, the Chiefs didn't even really miss Tyreek Hill. They can plug in a seventh round rookie running back, and he can fill the need. You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure.
Um, Credit to Jalen Hurts. You know, a lot of questions about how Jalen Hurts would perform in this game, biggest game of his career, and he breaks Steve McNair's record for Super Bowl rushing yards by a quarterback and ties Terrell Davis for the most rushing touchdowns in a Super Bowl. Pretty damn impressive for Jalen Hurts, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I really thought it was impressive to me. And if there was any chance that the losing quarterback would have got Super Bowl MVP, I would have definitely given it to Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, you got to give it to Mahomes, but Jalen Hurts played a great game as well and kept them in the game. I mean, and damn near won it. 350 plus yards, four touchdowns, one big fumble loss. Remember that fumble that was returned for a touchdown?
Yes.
That was like his one mistake of the game, but take that away and he played perfect.
So I I want to bring this up. Do you remember when me, you, and Pablo was having that discussion in the Super Bowl preview? Well, what do we say was the key to stopping the Eagles from winning the Super Bowl?
Stopping the run game, right?
And what did the Chiefs do?
Oh, absolutely. If you had told me going into the Super Bowl that the Eagles running backs would rush for less than 50 yards and their D line would record zero sacks, we would all say that's going to be a blowout. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I can't believe as much success that the Eagles were having in the first half. It's like they abandoned the run or something. But how in the hell does Miles Sanders, Kenneth Gainwell, and Boston Scott combine for less than 50 yards rushing?
Yeah, that's crazy considered what especially Miles Sanders has been doing all season long.
Yeah, that was the key to the game. And that's a great point that you just brought up. I mean, yeah, if you can't run the ball like you've been doing all season long, you're asking for trouble. The fact that it was a 3 point game is crazy. And you know, I don't know what to say, but I mean, imagine if the Eagles had won, and we're talking about they only rushed for less than 50 yards with those running backs. But if you can't get sacks and get to Mahomes and you can't run the ball on the other side, you're asking for trouble. With those stats, yeah, it should have been a blowout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, Andy Reid absolutely burns. The all the hype was about the Eagles' defense and defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, who's now the Cardinals' head coach. But twice in a row, did you remember that Chiefs play where they fake inside motion with the receiver and then he runs back out and the Eagles had nobody covering him?
Yeah, yep, I do.
Yeah. 2 times in a row for touchdowns for to Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. Their only catches of the game were for 2 touchdowns and that one play by Andy Reid. How the hell do the Eagles not are unable to cover that not only once but twice? I mean, you got to give all the credit to Andy Reid for that play call, that play design.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. It's Andy Reid. The man is a genius.
Yeah, but man, if I'm the Eagles head coach, if I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm breaking something. If that happens a second time, I'm breaking something. I'm in Jonathan Gannon's face. How the hell do you fall for that twice? Like anybody can fall for it once. Credit to Andy Reid. To fall for it twice, I'm pissed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I want to throw another point out there. I mean, we're talking about Andy Reid, but after all, Eric Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator,
Oh
so
yeah,
he's the guy who designs the plays most of the time. And man, what a call, you know?
yeah, great. I mean, Andy Reid's probably calling the plays, but we can't sit here and say that Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy aren't working together developing these offenses. And I bet Matt Nagy has some input as well, you know? So you have to give Bieniemy credit for that as well. But Andy Reid's the guy that's been around for the longest and has earned that reputation, you know. But great job either way by that Chiefs offensive, coaching coming up with that play, and it worked twice in a row for 2 touchdowns. Really, the key of the game. Um, let's see here. The What do you think of? Okay, so the Colts hire the Eagles' offensive coordinator Shane Steichen to be their new head coach. Your Colts hire Shane Steichen. First of all, do you like the hire?
You know, I don't know much about Shane Steichen. I do know that the Eagles' offense was pretty good this year.
Uh huh.
You know, and Nick Sirianni was a pretty decent coordinator when he was in Indy.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
So
so
could be a good fit.
he got to learn from him, but in in my opinion, Alex, I don't like it because we needed a bigger name, a bigger splash. You know,
Yeah. Well, what you're getting is a rookie head coach. He is a former Chargers offensive coach and quarterback coach for multiple years with Justin Herbert. Um, then he goes to Philly with Jalen Hurts, has a great year. Um, two years as the Eagles offensive coordinator. The biggest question for Indy is going to be who's going to be the quarterback for Shane Steichen. So they're going young. They're kind of going a little bit of retool. I don't know if it's going to be a complete rebuild, but it's a retool. Rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, right? Um, who are you wanting the Colts to go after as far as quarterback? A lot of people are thinking C.J. Stroud. That's what Jim Irsay said. "Quote: That Alabama guy doesn't look bad." End quote. So are the Colts going to try to trade up, maybe with the Bears, and go get Bryce Young, #1 overall? What are you thinking?
right now I don't know what we're gonna do for the quarterback. I mean, you know, also Derek Carr's out there, and he still
Mhm.
has a good 3 4 years in him. You know, so
Yep.
um,
I
but
mean, Aaron Rodgers is available via trade.
yeah, if I was Indy, I would go get Will Levis. I like Will Levis a lot.
Okay.
Uh, to me, he's more pro ready than Stroud and uh Young. So go get Will Levis, but also try to sign Derek Carr to develop Will Levis 2 3 years underneath him.
Yeah, right. Like, why not sign a veteran, whether it's Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo or even Aaron Rodgers, trade for him, whatever you got to do, and then also draft a guy and have him sit for a year or two, and then go with that route. I like that idea. We'll see if the Colts go that route. They seem to be thinking through the draft. Is Will Levis your favorite or your the guy you like the most coming out of the draft this year, quarterback wise?
I mean, I do, but CJ Stroud and Young are have higher upsides, but we need a guy right now, and I think Will Levis is ready now. You
Yeah,
know,
more pro ready.
yep, more pro ready. I mean, and there's another QB out there, man, who I like, but unfortunately he's going to be picked later, and that's Tanner McKee. I mean, the dude reminds me of straight of Andrew Luck, same body, massive arm, can
Same school,
move.
right? He's coming out of Stanford.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know much about him, but as this draft process goes along, I'm going to start studying all these quarterbacks. So I'm going to definitely check him out.
Yep. And yeah, but to me, I would go out and get Will Levis, and that's not me saying that CJ Stroud and Young are not talented because they absolutely are. But right now, Colts being rookie head coach, you need a guy who's ready right now.
Yeah, and I doubt you'd have to trade up for Will Levis, right? You can kind of wait, take him with your pick, and then if that's the case, bring in a veteran. And I think Jimmy G. How would you feel about Jimmy G in Indy? I mean, he seems like the most realistic.
Yeah, I mean, bring him. The dude's a winner. You know,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
pretty, but he wins football games.
absolutely. The with Steichen gone, the Eagles promote quarterback coach Brian Johnson, the offensive coordinator. Um, Something we haven't had the chance to talk about: the Broncos hire Sean Payton as their next head coach. 161 and 97 record with the Saints, one championship as head coach, and he's hired to help Russell Wilson and get Russell Wilson to bounce back from a terrible season and get back to MVP form. In my opinion, if anyone can do it, it's Sean Payton. I think that's a home run hire by the Broncos to go get the best coach available to turn Russell Wilson's career around. Do you like it?
I do. I mean, that's you're not going to get no better, in my opinion, than Sean Payton, especially coaches that are on the market right
Yeah.
now. Man, Russell Wilson with Sean Payton, I'm excited to watch it.
Me too. I'm excited to see how the Broncos do, and I expect them to bounce back and at least make the playoffs and maybe contend for that division. They're interviewing defensive coordinator candidates. Rex Ryan, considered to be a favorite for the Broncos defensive coordinator position. He hasn't coached since 2016. And Cardinals DC Vance Joseph is also in the mix. What do you think about those options?
Yeah, and then I just read something the other day about Vic Fangio could also possibly come back to Denver as a defensive coordinator. So,
Actually, that is we'll go ahead and talk about that now. Vic Fangio has been hired by the Miami Dolphins.
oh wow, I didn't even see that. Thank you for
Yep,
uh
to be their
info.
defensive coordinator. He wasn't great as a head coach in Denver, but as a defensive coordinator, we had Vic Fangio in Chicago, and I absolutely loved him. We had the best football or the best defense in football. So great hire by the Dolphins.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, as for Rex Ryan, I think would be a great defensive coordinator
Hmm.
because that's what his Bills and Jets teams and were based on was great defenses.
Yeah, absolutely. And take a little bit of the responsibility away. He doesn't have to run the entire team as head coach. Just let him focus on defense. And I mean, going back to when he was a defensive coordinator with the Ravens, remember those teams with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. Those were completely nasty defenses.
Yeah, I
So let's go to the Arizona Cardinals. They hire the Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon to be their head coach. He was a DB coach from 2014 to 2020. Uh, if you're a Cardinals fan, are you a little bit worried about this? You're hiring Gannon after his defense gives up 31 points, and at times the defense appeared confused and lost in the Super Bowl. Does that worry you at all if you're a Cardinals fan?
I mean, what worries me, to be honest, is the fact that you have a quarterback like Kyler Murray, who I think needs a veteran coach. Um,
Yes, not
I
a
would not,
rookie head coach. I agree.
I would not have brought in a rookie head coach. He needed somebody, that had experience. So
Man, and they were interviewing Sean Payton. Bro, if the Cardinals could have gotten Sean Payton, that changes everything. But they didn't. And now they're going the rookie route. And I think um I don't know. I think Arizona got it wrong again, you know?
yep, I agree.
They go from Cliff Kingsbury now to Jonathan Gannon. And did you see the introductory with Gannon meeting the players of the Cardinals? That
Yes,
video?
I did, and Kyler seemed pretty happy about it.
Bro, I am not. I think this is a terrible hire. I think this is the worst hire in the league. Um, Jonathan Gannon reminds me of Mike McDaniel, and you know how I feel about Mike McDaniel. I think
Yeah,
I think he's a nerd. I think he's kind of dorky. The same like McDaniel. I think these are not leaders of men. These are spreadsheet analytics guys, and I don't think they have a place in the NFL. I know Gannon had a great defense in Philly, but the talent was all over that defense. I think I jokingly I said I think the Cardinals go 0 and 17. Um, I think this is a terrible hire, and I think the Cardinals got it wrong again. I agree with you. This isn't the guy they need for Kyler Murray. I think there's a high likelihood that Kyler Murray gets traded away from the Cardinals here soon in the next couple years.
yeah. I don't see him being there long either, and I don't know what's going on with Arizona not making the right choices, but like I said, Kyler needed a veteran coach.
Well, it goes down to ownership, right? They fired or they got rid of the GM Steve Keim, so it's all Bill Bidwell, and he's not making the right decisions, in my opinion. I think Adrian Wilson, former Cardinal safety, is helping him out, but yeah, this is terrible. I don't like the Gannon hire at all, and I think the Cardinals are gonna be up against it here. You got to hire the right guy, and I don't think Kyler Murray and Gannon are gonna get along. One little note: the Cardinals do hire Nick Rallis to be their defensive coordinator, former Eagles linebacker coach. So he follows Gannon from Philly. And I don't think you know this, but here's a little nugget for you, Dustin. Nick Rallis, the Cardinals' new defensive coordinator, is the brother of WWE wrestler Madcap Moss.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yep. So there's a little nugget for you being a wrestling fan. The Commanders hire Eric Bieniemy from the Chiefs to be their assistant head coach and offensive coordinator. Matt Nagy will take over as Chiefs offensive coordinator. Hashtag good luck with that. Um, how do you feel? So, I mean, Eric Bieniemy should have gotten a head coach job by now. I don't know why he hasn't to this point. They say he doesn't interview well or whatever. They point to legal issues that go back like 20 years ago, something like that. But he wins his second championship as offensive coordinator. He's had nothing but success in Kansas City. Now he goes to the Commanders to be an assistant head coach. Ron Rivera is on the hot seat, so maybe if they fire Ron Rivera, Eric Bieniemy can move into the head coach role. But how do you feel about this position for Eric Bieniemy? The Commanders seem to be going Sam Howell as their starting quarterback into the offseason. I don't know if I like the situation in Washington. Do you?
I mean, I don't, but I do like the hire of Eric Bieniemy just because,
Yeah.
and the fact that he got hired as an assistant coach, that's just one foot in the door to being a head coach.
Yeah,
So
it wouldn't surprise me at all if Ron Rivera gets fired mid-season next year or at the end of next season. I mean, I would fire him. I would fire him now, and just give the job to Eric Bieniemy. But I think that you would probably agree with me that Eric Bieniemy is brought in to kind of be the successor to Ron Rivera, right?
yeah, absolutely. Where did you hear about Sam Howell possibly starting? What's up with Henneke? Is he a free agent?
Uh, that I don't know, but Ron Rivera said uh publicly that the Commanders are planning on going into the offseason with Sam Howell as their quarterback one. That's what he said.
Boy, because I'll tell you what, if Henneke's on the market, that's the guy I want in Indy.
Yeah, I mean, if he's under contract, why wouldn't you keep him? He's done nothing but good stuff, in my opinion. Again, Ron Rivera has no idea how to handle the quarterback position. So, in that regard, getting Eric Bieniemy is a huge get for the Commanders because Rivera is clueless. I think.
Yeah, and Bieniemy is a guy who knows how to handle the quarterback position very well.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens in Washington, and we'll see what happens with Taylor Henneke and Carson Wentz is still there. So we'll see what happens. How do you feel about Matt Nagy taking over as offensive coordinator for the Chiefs? Are the Chiefs going to continue to roll with Andy Reid calling plays and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey, or is Nagy's Chicago Bears play calling going to come out, and are the Chiefs going to struggle next year? What do you think?
I think Reed's gonna keep it. Um,
Yeah,
because or maybe give him a shot, see how he does for a couple games, and if he doesn't do very well, take it back over. I mean,
yeah,
but there's also a difference though, Alex, between a head coach calling plays when you're at a head coach position compared to when you're calling plays as an offensive coordinator.
yeah.
Because you have so much more pressure on you as a head coach than you do
Absolutely.
an offensive coordinator, and I think Nagy would do better as an OC than a head coach.
I agree. And then you've got Andy Reid who is gonna, be there to like correct you if he needs to. The
Yeah.
veteran, seen it all. I agree on that, but one thing I would keep an eye on is um Andy Reid or Matt Nagy called plays for the Chiefs back in that 2017 playoff game and blew an 18-point lead to the Titans. So that was with Alex Smith at quarterback, not Patrick Mahomes. But um, while it is easier, I don't have any faith in Matt Nagy. So Andy Reid needs to keep a close eye on that offense. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, Jags. So this is something that's gone under the radar. Not a lot of people talking about. Calvin Ridley, who is suspended all of 2022, is now eligible for reinstatement for the 2023 season and would be a huge addition to the Jaguars wide receiver room and Trevor Lawrence, huh?
Oh, absolutely, man. Watch out for the Jags next year.
Exactly. Not a lot of people talking about Calvin Ridley, but you put him into that offense with the Jags, look out. They're going
Oh,
to be a threat. Yeah.
yeah, he's definitely talented. I mean, we've seen what he was capable of when he was in Atlanta.
Yep. And go add to it too. You got an off season, you got a draft, get another receiver, give Trevor Lawrence all the weapons you can give him. And in that division, you got to be a little keep an eye on Jacksonville because they might be coming up and might have a stranglehold on that division here going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and also big news out of Jacksonville is it should be a matter of time, but Indy is expected to hire Jim Bob Cooter as their next offensive coordinator.
Yep, the best name in football right there, Jim Bob Cooter. Uh, can't wait to start talking about him again. if he's the Colts offensive coordinator.
Yeah, from what I've been reading is that he's the number one candidate, and the announcement could be within a day or so.
Nice. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Your former head coach, Frank Reich, lands with the Carolina Panthers as head coach. Um, you were not sold. You were not happy with Frank Reich and the job he did in Indy. I don't think that Frank Reich is a great head coach. What do you think about the hire for Carolina?
It was different to me. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
I was expecting Carolina to, either go to the college again, like try to get maybe a Lincoln Riley or somebody,
Yep.
uh, or try to offer, a different head coach out there. But the Frank Reich one caught me by surprise because I figured as bad as he did in Indy, I thought maybe it would take a couple years before he got another chance.
Yeah. And not the case. The NFL seems to like Frank Reich. He's got a lot of circles, a lot of trust within the league. I don't like this hire for Carolina, and I think this keeps them in the bottom of that division for a while. And then the biggest thing is now you got Frank Reich, who I already don't trust as a head coach and a play caller. And now who's your quarterback? Panthers still haven't figured that out. Who's going to be their quarterback? Whether that's Jimmy G, whether that's you know who knows, Derek Carr, or maybe they go the draft CJ Stroud, something like that. But the Panthers, their biggest worry needs to be finding that franchise quarterback. And it wasn't Teddy Bridgewater, it wasn't Sam Darnold. Who was it supposed to be last year or this last year? I'm drawing a blank.
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, the Panthers can't get the quarterback position right, so we'll see if they can do it this offseason. But I don't think Frank Reich helps.
I don't either, but I mean, if he can get the right crew around him, and if they're available, man, go out and get CJ Stroud,
Yeah,
or
or
or Will,
Will Levis. Yeah.
you know,
Um, they hire Frank Reich brings with him Colts offensive play caller. That kid Perks Frazier is now going to go be the pass game coordinator in Carolina. Reich also hires former 17-year NFL quarterback Josh McCown to be the Panthers quarterback coach.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep. And then the Panthers also hire former NFL corner D'Angelo Hall to be their assistant defensive backs coach.
Yeah, I like that. He had a good career.
Yeah, 43 career interceptions. So if he's got any
Mm.
knowledge of that position, he'll should do a good job with that. The Raiders officially released Derek Carr. It'll be interesting to see where he lands. The Saints and the Panthers are both interested. Derek Carr, I expected this to be better. What do you think his record is? Well, I'll tell you. His record as a starting quarterback in the NFL, 63 and 79. I would have thought it would be a lot better than that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Carolina is the problem. Isn't just quarterback though.
For the Raiders.
Oh, sorry for the Raiders. Excuse me,
Yeah.
man. Oh, I have Carolina stuck in my head for some reason. But had they have made a different choice as head coach, I think Derek Carr's still there.
Then compared to Josh McDaniels,
Yes.
yeah, and they had such a bad year. I think they're kind of making Derek Carr the fall guy, and we'll see if Derek Carr can rebound his career with the Saints or Panthers or whoever, maybe even the Colts, and turn his career around, get back to the playoffs. He's 0-1 in his career in the playoffs, so I would like to see Derek Carr get another opportunity at a playoff game, but not a lot in Vegas. Um, so we'll see what happens there. Would you would like to see Derek Carr come to the Colts?
I do because they need somebody like him. I mean, they had got Matt Ryan, but Matt was on his way out. Philip Rivers on his way out. Carson Wentz was. We didn't know what he brought to us.
Yeah. Yep.
You know,
So
so
we'll see what happens there. Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on with Derek Carr, see where he lands. Texans hire D'Amico Ryans from the 49ers defensive coordinator. He's going to be the Texans head coach. He played linebacker for the Texans from 2006 to 2011 and had the number one ranked defense in football this year with the 49ers. You think D'Amico Ryans is the right hire for the Texans?
absolutely, I think D'Amico Ryan's is the right hire wherever he went.
Yeah. And you know they got the number two overall pick. If they can get their quarterback, maybe it's Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, whoever they get, the Texans could turn that team around pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they need that guy at quarterback. Although I do love Davis Mills, but unfortunately, he hasn't lived up to what it was. But I think he could still be the guy. But you still have to
Yeah,
go get a young quarterback.
he should be in the. They should keep him, and he should be in the quarterback competition with the rookie. And it's not like Davis Mills has had a lot of talent around him either. The Texans have been rebuilding both those years with Davis Mills. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
um, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something, but I forget. The Devin Hester once again snubbed in the Hall of Fame voting. I don't understand this, bro. Do you? I mean, he's the GOAT. He was the most electrifying returner we've ever seen. I don't understand why they're not putting him into the Hall. He should have been a first ballot, in my opinion.
Absolutely, bro. I mean, the only person that I've seen compared to him is maybe a Cordero Patterson nowadays or a Deion Sanders. You know,
Yeah,
that's that's about it. And those Deion Sanders is a Hall of Famer. So
yeah, yeah. I don't understand it, but hopefully he gets in sooner than later. I think it's absolutely flawed that Hester wasn't at least first ballot. Um, the Bears officially purchased Arlington Park property for their new stadium, moving to the suburbs instead of on the lake and going into a dome instead of the rich history of Soldier Field. Fuck this, bro. I'm pissed. I don't like anything about it. I don't like the idea of the Bears moving to a dome. I don't like the idea of moving to the burbs. I liked the lake being right there. You get the snow off the lake and the wind and the cold. I liked everything about Soldier Field and where the Bears were at, playing outside, playing in the snow. If the Bears go to a dome, man, I'm not gonna be happy. What do you think about it?
uh, you know, I'm more of a let's play in the snow type of guy. Let's keep the tradition. Let's keep everything where it's at. But Justin Fields did say he is gonna enjoy playing in a dome more than he would outside.
Well, yeah, I think every quarterback in football would rather play in a dome. It's easier to throw. There's no wind. There's no slippery footballs, of course. But football, in my opinion, is meant to be played outside. If we want to watch football in domes, the Arena Football League is starting back up. We can go watch that. Um, I like the tradition of Bears football being played outside in the cold, whether it's rain, snow, sleet, wind. I don't give a shit. I like it being in the weather. I don't see Green Bay. I don't see the Packers moving out of Lambeau to play in a dome. Do you?
Yeah,
I don't see the Patriots moving out of Foxborough. I don't see the Bills. The Bills are building a new stadium, but guess what? It's going to be outside. You know what I mean? It's going to be state of the art, but it's going to be outside. Same with the Jets and the Giants at MetLife. I don't understand it, bro. Uh, and I hate it. It's going to be a while before I go to a Bears game in a dome. Um, my first Bears game ever was in the playoffs with snowflakes falling in my beer. I was in heaven. I didn't want to be anywhere else. And I think the things that make sports the most fun and the best is tradition. And Bears football is meant to be played outside in the weather. Um, there's other factors at play because financially, and they want to be able to host the Super Bowl in a dome. They want to be able to host the Final Four in Chicago in a dome. Whatever, politics and money. I'm thinking about it from a football standpoint. That's all I'm thinking about.
Not only that, but if they get a dome, they can host WrestleMania.
Yeah. Uh, check me off on the list of who gives a shit.
Well, I mean, I do.
I mean, that's cool, but they could play WrestleMania at the United Center. You
Too,
know? Huh?
too small.
I don't give a shit. I could care less about wrestling or concerts or Final Four, any of that shit. I just want to watch football in the snow. So
I feel you, bro.
yeah, I'm not happy about it. Big off season for my Bears and GM Ryan Poles. He kind of got he kind of got to do a grace period. His first year he didn't have to deal with much. He started the old rebuild, traded away Khalil Mack and Roquan Smith, and got the number one overall pick. Now we've got 100 mil in cap space about, and we've got the number one overall pick. So let's see what we can do this offseason. Now the pressure starts for Bears GM Ryan Poles to start building this team around Fields and see what kind of a team we can put on the field next year. How do you think it goes for the Bears this offseason? You think they're going to be aggressive and spend a lot of money?
I would, but the track record says no.
Yeah,
But man, if I was them, I would redo it right this time. You traded away Roquan Smith, a great defensive player, but man, imagine if you kept him and drafted Will Anderson Jr.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, I think they're going to draft some defense, but in my opinion, I know receiver is a big need. I know there's a lot of needs all over that Bears roster. Look at how Detroit is built and what they're building. You got to build in the trenches. You want to build up both sides of the trenches, O line and D line. And
and
the Chiefs won the Super Bowl because they allowed 0 sacks. Justin Fields just broke the NFL record for amount of time sacked in a single season. Let's start with the offensive line and protect Justin Fields and keep him
yeah,
healthy.
build that in the draft, but Poles go out and make a massive trade for DeAndre Hopkins. Go get him.
Yeah, go get D Hop. Go get you know, get whoever you can get at the wide receiver position so that Equinemius St. Brown isn't your number one guy.
Yeah,
So we'll see. A lot of work to do for the Bears. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm not extremely excited. I don't trust Ryan Poles. I don't trust the Bears. So we'll see what we do um, this offseason. But plenty of cap, plenty of money to spend, high draft capital. So we'll see if we can get it done. Um, Real quick, how are you feeling about the Lions? You loved the Lions towards the end of the year this last year. Jared Goff had a great year, a year that I never would have seen coming. But they seem content. Lions fans seem content to run it back with Jared Goff. I'm here to say, to warn Lions fans, that I don't think Jared Goff is capable of doing that 2 years in a row. I think he's going to struggle in year two. What do you say to that?
I disagree.
So you saw Goff with the Rams, right? With Sean McVay,
Yeah,
and he struggled. So how with McVay too? So how is Goff? Is Goff suddenly now going to be consistent?
yes. And here's my reason why, okay? Look, Dan Campbell is playing to the strength of what Jared Goff is. He's not having Goff do too much. He has a decent run game behind him, with athletes on the outside and a pretty good offensive line.
Yeah. Um. I just I'm here to tell you. I'll bet I'll be talking about this all off season, all season long. I guarantee you, Jared Goff is not going to have as good a year next year. I can guarantee you that. So if I'm the Lions, I want to draft a quarterback, and I would be looking at C.J. Stroud or Will Levis. I would be taking a quarterback. Absolutely. The Lions have already uh, missed on Justin Fields. How do you think the Lions would be right now if you had a young Justin Fields?
I mean, probably would have made the playoffs.
Yeah. Um, I think that Goff. I'll tell you this right now, without seeing how the offseason goes. As of right now, I will guarantee you that if Jared Goff starts the majority of the games next season, the Lions will once again miss the playoffs.
Oh, see, that's where I disagree, man, because they're going to continue to build in the draft. And knowing Dan Campbell, he's going to go get some more defensive players, and they're
Well,
going
yeah, if
to.
they're better defensively, that'll help. Getting Jamison Williams back for a full off season, a full season to play, that'll be huge. Amon St. Brown. A lot of mock drafts have the Lions taking the Notre Dame tight end. What's his name again?
Michael Mayer.
Yep, they got the Lions taking Michael Mayer. So without Hawkinson, they could use a tight end like that.
Yeah, by the way, who is, in my opinion, the greatest tight end in the history of Notre Dame.
All right. And so, I mean, they've had some great ones come out of there too. So that's high praise. We'll see if he can back it up in the NFL, and we'll see if the Lions take him. What's your gut as of right now on Aaron Rodgers? What do you think happens with your boy Aaron Rodgers?
I think he is going to play next year. It will
Okay.
not be Green Bay.
Will
Um,
not be in Green Bay.
nope. I have two teams.
All right.
Um, I I believe Tennessee could make a move for Aaron Rodgers
Yep.
or the Vegas Raiders.
Yeah. That's everyone's like, that makes a lot of
But
sense.
but hear me out though, Alex. One dark horse team, the New York Jets.
Yeah. I mean, the Jets won him. I think the Jets is more realistic than the Titans. To me, I would say Jets and Raiders. I know the Titans need a quarterback, but if I'm Aaron Rodgers, why would I go there? You know what I mean? The Titans, besides Derrick Henry, the Titans don't have much. And if I were him, I'd go to the Jets, who have receivers. They're gonna have Brees Hall coming back. They got a D line. They got defense. They got Sauce Gardner. I'd rather go to the Jets. And the Raiders, it would be a reuniting with Devontae Adams, so I could understand that as well.
Mhm.
Um,
Darren
I
Waller.
Darren Waller, absolutely. Hunter Renfro, Josh Jacobs. I think there's a chance that Aaron Rodgers goes back to Green Bay, and I think it would be a mistake. I mean, what's left in Green Bay? Like, I don't see going back to Green Bay. I know you got young Christian Watson, you got Aaron Jones, but I think Green Bay is on the way down. I think they're coming back down to earth, and like we just saw, they missed the playoffs this last year. So, um, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I want to contend for a championship in my last couple of years, not stay in Green Bay where it doesn't seem like they're trying.
Yeah, I
So I don't see how he can go back to Green Bay. So we'll see. It's a big domino to fall, whether he retires or whether he leaves or whether he stays. I would like to see him personally. I'd like to see him on the Jets. Remember when Brett Favre went from the Packers to the Jets?
yep.
Seems to be kind of following in Brett Favre's footsteps with I'm going to retire, then I'm not, then I'll go get traded to the Jets. Maybe then he'll go to the Vikings after a year with the Jets, just like Brett.
Yep.
Um, what about Derek Carr? We kind of already talked about this. You wouldn't mind him in Indy, Raiders or Panthers and Saints. Saints seem to be the number one team that are talking about Derek Carr.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see it because the Saints need a quarterback.
Man, and what's going on with Jameis Winston? Why have the Saints completely bailed on Jameis Winston?
I don't know, and Jameis didn't get his chance from the start.
Exactly. It never made any sense to me. So we'll see what happens there. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, where does he go? It likely won't be in San Francisco. And the Colts could use him. A lot of teams could use a veteran quarterback like Jimmy G. The Jets is a team to keep an eye
Yeah, for sure.
on. What about the Niners? This is going to be something I'm going to be talking about all off season. My gut tells me this, Dustin, and tell me if I'm crazy. as well as Brock Purdy played this season, the Niners, let's not forget, traded up, gave up a lot to trade up to number 3 overall to draft Trey Lance. John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan made that decision together. They don't want to look like idiots, bro. They want Trey Lance. They want to give Trey Lance every opportunity to be successful and prove that he is as talented as they thought he was. They don't want to look like idiots. They want to look like they know what they're talking about when they evaluate talent. I'm telling you, I think that we see a quarterback competition between Trey Lance and Brock Purdy for the starting job in camp and preseason. I think they want Trey Lance to start week 1.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I would go Brock Purdy, but you know,
But why? I think that's kind of short sighted because Trey Lance, if you don't start him, Trey Lance is probably going to be like, trade me. You know what I mean?
yeah, but I mean, you can't just forget what Purdy did for you.
True, but Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant. He's a 7th round pick. Purdy is much more likely to be patient mentally than Trey Lance is. You have to take that into account where they were drafted. You can
That,
sell Brock Purdy on, we like you. When you came in, you balled out, but you're a 7th round pick and still establishing yourself. Let's see. We traded up. They can tell Brock Purdy, we've got a lot invested in the Trey Lance. We need to know whether Trey Lance is our guy or not. We're confident we got Brock Purdy. We need to know what Trey Lance is. And also, we need to know what Trey Lance is so that we can, if he's not the guy, get rid of him. What's the point of having a guy on your roster if you don't know? And we got to remember, we have barely seen anything of Trey Lance. He hasn't been healthy. He hasn't been on the field. We need to see more of Trey Lance before we really know what he is or isn't.
yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I just had my opinion on like you just can't forget what Brock Purdy's done.
Absolutely. And Brock Purdy's a great guy to have. You can do a lot worse than a backup for Brock Purdy. And I think you can sell Brock Purdy on that. Be like, look, you're going to start the season in a quarterback competition. If you outplay Trey Lance, then the starting job's yours. But what do they say? Every year you got to prove yourself again and again in the NFL, right?
Yep.
So I have no problem with letting Trey Lance and Brock Purdy duke it out for the starting job, and whoever plays best gets the start. And if Trey Lance can't beat Brock Purdy, then trade Trey Lance. You know,
Yep,
but
for
if
sure.
but if Trey Lance outplays Brock Purdy, start Trey Lance because Brock Purdy's a pretty good quarterback. You know, so it's going to be interesting offseason for the Niners too. And they lost a lot. They lost defensive coordinator D'Amico Ryans. They lost a lot of assistants on the offensive side of the ball. So it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Niners as well. So I can't wait for this long off season to begin. Um, have you started your draft prep and like what are your thoughts on the quarterback position and who should go number 1, number 2, number 3 in the draft? Or who do you have your eye on so far? Hello? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, that's a good point, about Trey Lance and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be a really interesting year for the 49ers off season and see what they do going into next year. They lost D'Amico Ryans, their defensive coordinator. They lost a lot of assistants on the offensive side of the ball. So we'll see what the 49ers do this off season. Have you started your draft prep? What are some players to keep an eye on coming up in the draft? And how do you kind of see like the top number 1? Who's going to go number 1? overall? And then, how do you see the draft coming up?
So far I've got my top 10 because I haven't looked deep into it yet, but I watch so much college football that I've seen these guys play on the field.
So my first question is this: the Bears have the number one overall pick. They're likely going to trade that. Do you agree with that? You think they're going to trade out?
Oh, you know what? I I don't.
So you would stay at number one because if the Bears trade out, they can accumulate more picks later in the rounds. You would rather you see a prospect there you'd rather take number one overall because he's too good to pass up.
Absolutely, man. I mean, Will Anderson Jr. I think could be very special.
Yeah, I like his talent a lot. What about Jalen Carter?
Jalen Carter as well, but I mean, I just think that Will Anderson Jr. is gonna be one of those Miles Garrett, Joe Nick Bosa type of guys.
Okay. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. So you would see him worthy of going number one overall. What if your Colts or the Texans or the Panthers or somebody offers you a haul for that number one overall pick though? And is that something that you would want your Colts to do if they fall in love with Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or even Will Levis? Would you like them to trade up to number one if it's to get Bryce Young? Because the Texans are likely going to take him at two, if not.
I mean, yeah, that's what I was gonna say is if the Colts trade for the number one spot, there's no doubt about it. Bryce Young is going number one overall because
Okay.
what?
I said, okay. So do you think Bryce Young is the best quarterback prospect in this draft, like worthy of going number one overall?
I mean, I still think that that's Will Levis,
Okay.
but knowing Ursay and everything, he's been talking pretty high about Bryce Young, and the only way to go get him is to make a trade because he won't be there in the first two picks.
It's rare that an owner makes a proclamation like that this early in the process to say, look, we really like that guy at Bama. So really strong indications, kind of letting the league know that we like Bryce Young. Do you like that as a Colts fan, or do you think I kind of wish Ursay would keep that to himself?
I mean, I like it because I feel like he's been around the game and knows a lot of football.
Yeah.
And if that's his guy, then go out and get your guy. And
Does
Bryce Young,
that drive up the price though? The number one overall pick though. I
it
mean,
does.
it's kind of like Ursay's doing the Bears a solid here.
Yeah, it definitely does. And Bears could get some good pieces. I mean, the Colts are trying to move, unfortunately, guys like DeForest Buckner and
Yeah.
which is absolutely stupid to me, but whatever.
We'll take Jonathan Taylor if you guys don't want
No, I'm good.
him.
Bijan Robinson
um,
available for you.
we'll see what happens. It's gonna be wild this draft process. I'm gonna be excited to start our mock drafts and stuff and start diving into it. I've done a top 10, but I haven't thoroughly started my research yet. Um, but yeah, I think Bryce Young is gonna be the top quarterback prospect. I like CJ Stroud a lot too. Will Levis is right there. And then I mean, what do you think of that? What is it? Anthony Richardson?
From what I'm hearing is that he's gonna really open some eyes.
Yeah, my gut right now says stay away from that guy. I wouldn't draft him, but again, I haven't done my research. But I mean, guys like Richardson and Hendon Hooker, I'm not drafting them unless it's late in the draft and it's like, well, let's take a shot. Let's see what he can do. Hendon Hooker to me reminds me of like a Braxton Miller or a Terrell Pryor, which means he might be better off switching to wide receiver. Anthony Richardson is going to get his shot as a quarterback. I just don't know. If he goes too high, it's risky. What do you are those valid points, or do you think I'm crazy?
I mean, to a certain point, but he has the size to be a great quarterback.
Yeah.
And what about Chicago maybe making a move and going out to get somebody like Jackson Smith and Jigma or Jalen Hyatt?
Absolutely. Justin Fields is already clamoring for JSN. Um, they were teammates at Ohio State. Fields would love to have a guy like that. But as Nesby from Three Kings podcast, Chicago Bears podcast said, he would take Jackson Smith and Jigba #1 overall, and he's getting killed for that take.
Yeah.
By the way, that's the same Bears podcast that said that called Velus Jones Debo Light, by the way. So same podcast.
Jeez.
Yeah. So if you guys want to keep listening to Three Kings, do so at your own risk.
Yeah, but I mean, come over to the Alex Lincoln Friends NFL podcast and you'll get full knowledge.
You're not just gonna get Bears talk, you're gonna get the entire league. And I feel like that keeps us educated and keeps us smarter because we know the entire league. We're not just focused on the Bears or the Colts. We talk about everybody, you know what I mean? And I think that gives us an advantage.
Absolutely.
So I mean that's about all we got. That kind of wraps it up. I can't wait for the draft, the combine coming up. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm gonna dive into the Senior Bowl. Talk some of that. Um, Great season, and can't wait for the off season coming up, huh?
Oh yeah. By the way, I just wanted to do a shout out.
Yeah,
There's a player plays at Ferris State University named Caleb Murphy, and he's from Dowagiac. He just got invited to the NFL Combine. He actually broke the record this year, or led the NCAA in most sacks.
nice.
Yeah, and he's from Dowagiac, so shout out to him and good luck.
Oh yeah, that's what's up. We'll definitely keep an eye on him. Shout out to Pablo for from Third World Perspective coming on our show all season long and always bringing the heat. Always being available and always having great content, great knowledge to share with us.
Yeah, for sure.
So stay tuned on this podcast. I mean, we're gonna have NBA talk this off season. We're gonna do a bunch of rewatches. We're gonna do March Madness coverage again. We're gonna do some wrestling coverage. We're gonna have it all on the podcast. So can't wait for the. We're gonna stay busy all summer, all spring and summer. You ready, Dustin?
Oh yeah.
So appreciate the support, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Stay tuned. Great content coming out as always. And have a great week. Peace out.